Alrighty guys, welcome back to the WGU Season 4 Match Week 10 Playday 2, Match 3. We've had two good playdays, well, two good games so far. Not good for the Finnish fans, but good regardless. EPS picking up the victory just a second ago up against Freefall, and prior to that, C-Play putting up a good performance against the Drooling Leprechauns. But now we have WUSA up against TCM. Bit of an all-German affair, pretty much.
TCM in 5th place and WUSA in 11th place. Two of the German teams, two of the powerhouses. WUSA, I actually thought would be in TCM's shoes right now, but it's indeed the other way around. Going to be a great matchup, though.
Yeah, I think so. There's obviously going to be a little bit of rivalry, national pride coming into question there. So I'd like to see whoever comes out a little bit on top on this one. I think on paper it's quite obvious to be TCM, but you never know with these two. They could certainly change things around. And Melly, if people do want to get their votes to us here in the studio, how can they do so?
Just head over to facebook.com/WGLEU, open the poll tab on our Facebook page, like our page to get the approval, no, not the approval, to be allowed to vote in the voting.
Melly will only give you approval if you like the page.
I will allow, as soon as you like our page. No, I don't know, it's a built-in feature from the app. Blame them, not me. It's not my fault. Okay, it's pretty much my fault, but just vote and leave your predictions in the form field below that vote. And by submitting your vote, you just get into the race for one of 3 bonus codes. And that's pretty much all from the sides of Facebook. And another I don't know what's going on. I'm so sorry. Just head over to Twitter, twitter.com/WGLEU, and get involved via using the hashtag WGLEU. And of course, I will reward 3 tweets of the day after every match day. And get your predictions in there as well. Get in your questions. I will ask our experts and whatever else is on your mind. And yeah, that's pretty much all from the challenge side of our show. And of course, follow our Twitch channel. It's very important. And of course, YouTube and everything. Just become part of us.
Just become part of us. Just as people, become part of us.
We're just energy now. We've gone past the point of being flesh and blood, and we just turn into energy. What's going to happen at some point?
Yeah, it's inevitable. But anyway, let's get back into some tanks and look at the lineups here between TCM and WUSA. Commandante, Schnitzel, Audi Nexus, all these guys we know and love by now. Up against TCM, who do we need to keep our eyes on?
TCM have been extraordinary. Desenichter's obviously first in the whole world. Well, just the European server actually, but it's the world in my eyes. He's been fantastic. Personal ratings up there through the roof. Yukai, DJ Red Deep also been very good. But for me, it's going to be about Eurofish and Steel Mojo. Steel Mojo has been underperforming a little bit. It's slow to some positions. I want to see how he steps up in this game. And for WUSA, we've seen this guy 100 times before. Stefan, great player. Sich, what's his name? And Commandant also been very good. But Laura Lanathala, I'm going to say first name because it's an insane name, has been extraordinary in the last couple of matches.
Yeah, certainly has been. So some very talented players here. First map, Himmelsdorf. Where's your prediction?
TCM.
I'm with you on that one. Hopefully WUSA can kind of surprise us in this, but I think we all know the way this should go at least. So guys, let's get ready for that first map, Himmelsdorf.
Let's get this show on the road.
And into the first map we go. TCM up against WUSA here in the north in red. It will be TCM. Probably the favourites in this one by quite some margin. Up against WUSA in the south in blue. Well, these guys going forward to start with.
So WUSA heading towards the right side as Commandante, also following suit. A little bit of a split and strange stuff from WUSA all around, kind of splitting tanks up towards the middle, left and right, kind of old school Himmelsdorf style, whilst TCM also trying something new. These guys really do innovate on this map, just don't get the execution quite right, but the ideas and the fundamentals behind what they're doing is really on point as they do head up towards the 8 line. Kind of classic all round. For me though, TCM are just the better team here. They drew it up on Himmelsdorf with Drooling Leprechauns and see play 1-3-0. So that could give you an idea of how innovative TCM can be and how dumb they can be sometimes in their execution.
Yeah, we'll see what we see today from them. Which TCM will we get treated to? Either the very intelligent, very smart side who can be ingenious in their plays, or the ones who kind of struggle occasionally. And still Mojo, well, those players who can have hit and miss days, sometimes absolutely pivotal, sometimes instrumental in the loss as well. So a bit of a static start between these two. It looks like TCM happy to stack towards that 8 line. Good couple of players. Devil, top of the hill, spots out Terrastan. It's the first time in a while we're not seeing anything other than tier 1s up at that hill. It's generally been fairly contested actually, but not fancying it this time it seems between these guys. And everyone just kind of holding their positions. Is there any move coming out anywhere on the WUSA side?
What's his name is starting to head towards the hill, as is Commandante. Two of the instrumental players. There's some pretty poor driving there by what's his name. Generally representing the general German driver just here on Winter's Himmelsdorf. Instead going left instead of going up. But I got to tell you what these guys are playing for. WUSA's in 11th place. 11th and 12th basically get automatically relegated and replaced by 1st and 2nd from the Silver Series. And TCM are playing for a spot in the Season 4 finals, simple as that. You know, in terms of games, it doesn't really get that much more important than that. WUSA wants to stay in the league, and TCM wants to go for the big prizes at the season finals. So a lot to play for and a lot of pressure, and that's going to slow things down. Classically, WUSA were slow at the beginning of the season, but they kind of sped their gameplay up, and I think they're just a more confident, better team. And I hope to God that they do stick with us for Season 5.
Yeah, and very little response coming out from TCM. They haven't really seen much of this move obviously happening. It is quite some way away. But Thoros there up on the 8 line, the standard and slightly old school style playing with that tier IS3. We normally see the tier 1 taking its place these days, and the main focus being where Eurofish is. But all in all, a bit of a passive start between these two. Obviously a lot on the line. They don't want to give away too much. They don't want to, shoot too far ahead and get overextended in any sort of possible situation. They've got to be smart about this. As you said, a hell of a lot on the line for both these teams, fighting for different things, but regardless, very important to each. So, Terrastan is up on that hill, gets a spot out towards Devil. Devil takes a shot, doesn't land it. So, no real surprise though, Terrastan was up there earlier, Devil backed off, but it has allowed Siege a chance to get up there with him.
Yeah, Siege got himself onto the hill. I'm not sure if he's actually got anything to shoot at though. Yizny would have to kind of cross that border. Still Mojo though, a little bit of danger, but the gun depression is not that great on the AMX 5100, and Siege could be caught out. But again, there's nothing really TCM can do about Siege unless Eurofish goes forwards. Delator's in the tier 1, so he's not going to really be able to do much. And it's really interesting actually what TCM wants to do. They've got a lot of tanks towards the 8 line. Classically from the south you don't go up the 8 line. It's more towards the hill or the 1 to 3 line. Only maybe Virtus Pro, WUSA maybe tried a couple of times, but it's the initial tactic as opposed to like a longer game plan. So I want to see what TCM does. Clearly they're playing for time at this point. They want to get to a certain amount of minutes and then probably make their first move.
We'll see how it comes off. Very little movement from TCM. They're hunkered down here. 5 minutes left on the board, and Himmelsdorf is not a map we generally see being drawn out. It's normally quite decisive in its ways, but these two not really finding much of an opening here. Both teams, pushing and pulling back. Still Mojo has an idea of where that tank on that hill might have been if Siege had stayed out a little longer, but still Mojo edging back into spot, keeping eyes on in case anyone was up there. Not going to catch a glimpse of anyone. Siege has backed off that hill since he was up there a little earlier, but still Mojo can find his position once again towards this 6 line, and still supported by Thoros down the 8. So, all in all, quite defensive, quite slow from TCM. Clearly respecting their opponent, but maybe need to start looking for a way forward. Eurofish is starting to toy with that 3-line push.
Yeah, both teams as well are just really in the same position, just on the opposite side of the map. You can see Siege is starting to head back round. I think he's going to join Rulfi and Stefan there. Commandant wants his name towards their right. So a little bit more of a contingent from WUSA towards the 8 line. Obviously, you still got Eurofish there on the flank, really the star player for TCM. He's been such a great addition to the team, really hitting the top amount of damage, sitting in second at the moment, only to, of course, the Wonder Man, Elian. So to see if he can actually pull up and go to first. It would be pretty hard. And Rolfie starts going forwards. It looks like WUSA want to try something a little bit. 4 minutes and 13 seconds left on the clock. Stefan just behind Sish as well, towards his left. I think the move would just basically to go up the 1 to 3 line. Eurofish got spotted. They know Delita went forwards in the tier 1, so they can kind of think, okay, TCM might want to go for the cap, because usually in Wells tanks you send your tier 1 in a position where you want to push because you want to get the information to know where you're pushing into.
And as you said, that TCM are on the rotate. Eurofish was there a little earlier, but everyone else joining in as well. Yiznik coming around, Durs, still Mojo's there. Pretty much everyone's stacking out now down this 3 line. So why do you think they started off with the 8 line hold? Do you think they were just trying to counter a push if it was happening? Yeah,
a lot of teams actually gone up the 8 line and towards the middle, so maybe just trying to get themselves into the best positions to deal with that one. The Lux is going to be looking for Delita then. Could actually find him since he's down on HP. Delita plays it perfectly though. Ooh, just peeks out a little bit too much, but the 20mm Hispano is not something you can really one-shot things on, and a lot of good spots actually coming out for WUSA there. I believe that's the Zenichta spotted, so information towards them. Have they got the right positions to deal with the push? We've seen this one work before, for instance on Evil Pana Squad side against Denial towards Evil Pana Squad. They managed to fend this off quite well, so will TCM have the better execution to do it?
3 minutes to pull it off now. TCM starting to edge forward. Eurofish and the 5100 staying around this 3 line, whereas the rest are pushing forward. Still Mojo and Thoris first on tier 1 gets taken down easily from that IS3 and gives away the game a little, but even with that in mind, it doesn't look like this push is stopping. And can TCM really make this one stick here?
Well, I think the question is, can WUSA keep TCM stuck in one place and keep them just back and stopping them capping, because there's a lot of damage, a lot of firepower, pretty much everything. I think Siege is going to be in the best position, and to be honest, the tanks sitting up back here for WUSA are not in the right place to deal with this.
No, Rufy being a little caught out there. We are seeing a couple of shells coming off. Still Mojo was tracked while coming through. Thoris is with him, so a couple of shells being made, but surprisingly none connecting just as of yet. Thoris on that reload, going to get it back up and running, but Eurofish getting caught in a bit of an alley there. Does get the exchange of Rufy and Stefan. So exchanging back and forth, pretty even on HP now. Kind of received. Stefan a little lower than most, but Eurofish has to be a little bit careful now. Backs out a touch, leaving those IS3s to maybe make a little bit more of an aggressive move, and they're doing just that. Still Mojo and Thoris heading in towards that cap circle, and are they pushing straight through? They are. They're going to try around, come around the backside of Stefan. They don't have the support of the 5100s there just as of yet. Stiche is on the flank.
They're kind of trying to go around. Dezanikta in the perfect position, takes a lot of damage, but does a lot back, and Rufy stuck there in the middle.
Yeah, Rufy's in trouble. He is out of the picture now. Very easy target to pick up, but Sish come around the backside of Thoris. We're not sure why they didn't expect that factor in play, but Stefan is the next on the chopping board, and Durs will slice through him like a hot knife through butter, leaving what's his name in a bit of a predicament now. 2 tanks staring him down. Still Mojo still has shells available. Durs needs to get out of there. He is down to a 1-shot, leaving it Still Mojo to do the job. Tries to hold him back, tries to keep him away. Does the job in the end in that IS3, landing the shell. Devil finds Terrastan, leaving just Commandante alive. And Still Mojo, hell, he even wants more and goes in for the 1v1.
Base captured though, a nice win there for TCM, only leaving Thoris there dead, the team captain for TCM, so really textbook stuff from them. WUSA just not in the right position, it should have been further forwards. They had to stop TCM from advancing and progressing so much in towards the map, because once they did, they could surround and take down WUSA's tanks. So then what TCM did perfectly was Thoris and Still Mojo going forward, sneaking past Siege in the 2 IS3s, and that's the presence of the IS3, because Siege couldn't peek because he would have taken like 900 damage of 1,400, so he had to stay back, and that gave the way in for TCM.
Now, is there any way to stop that push? Because we've been seeing the 3-line push going from the north quite on a regular basis these days. It's certainly something a lot of teams now kind of fall back towards after their initial hill play may not work, or whatever the initial plan is. It's normally the secondary. How can a team from the south now counter this? Is there a way they can actually hold off against it, or is it just maybe badly played out from WUSA then?
It's badly played out from WUSA. The 5100 weren't in the right place. Basically, what you have as an advantage there, because you're defending, is that you have the positions you want first. So you can put the 5100s around the corner, aiming to where TCM's coming from, and as soon as TCM pop up, you can get the first shots, the second shot also at the same time. So it just, you get the initial damage. That's what you need in wireless tanks. That's why defending teams often said to have the advantage, because they get the first shot. But WUSA didn't have any of that. They didn't have tanks in the right positions. They didn't have them around the corner enough. And TCM, they could just sneak a couple of tanks around, and that's the problem. You need those 5100s providing the firepower, and that's what WUSA didn't have.
Okay, so errors with WUSA rather than maybe a flawless strategy from TCM, but well executed regardless, as you mentioned, nicely played out. They were on the attack, and normally, as you mentioned, the defensive side do have the advantage, but even with that in mind, TCM do pick up the first map here. And it being a city map, and we're going on to a second city map, does this seem to follow trend then? Will this be another TCM map, or do you think maybe this could be a better one for WUSA?
I think this is going to be a better one for WUSA, but still TCM very strong. I think what's great about TCM on Ensk is that they were very bad at it at some point, and they had to really work on it and get some good trainings and scrims down to actually improve their play. But still a little bit shaky. WUSA does have a way in here. City maps definitely do go in favor for them. WUSA, they lost first place on this map to Team Dignitas at WCG. That's a while ago now, but still something that'll be playing on their minds for sure. The team captains that's still in for that roster. So, yeah, TCM could be vulnerable, but again, it's a city map. So as long as TCM just plays pretty good, WUSA doesn't really have a chance. I think it's more going to be on Mines and Cliff and those kind of dynamic maps that we really see WUSA the Germans come in.
Yeah, but the worrying factor is that then again, TCM will be on match point, and we could argue that TCM do like to crumble at that point. They do seem to then give up the ghost and end up with a draw somehow. But all in all, I feel this should be TCM's map as well. They played it solidly. They didn't make too many mistakes. They were pretty much on point through Himmelsdorf. It was a bit of a slow start, but it made sense. They wanted to make sure there's no push down the 8 line. Mm-hmm. And it all kind of came into place. So tank selections, is it going to be what we expect, the 5100 and IS3 combo?
Yeah, I imagine so. Triple 5100, double IS3, double tier 1 from WUSA. It's a team that's kind of picked a few different things, quadruple 5100, but they like to go for the standard stuff towards the end of the season because they kind of think, okay, it's what's accepted and what works. And TCM also with a triple 5100, double IS3, double tier 1.
Well, so even lineups, but very different teams in play style alone. We'll have to see how these guys actually do this one properly. But I think the lack of counting is the main issue with these guys. But anyway, they are ready for the next map coming up, Ensk. Alrighty, welcome into battle number 2. Hopefully they can learn how to count from the timer at the very top and get this one underway. So TCM will be in the north in red, currently leading 1 map to the good. In the south in blue, it's WUSA, looking to maybe even the score, but certainly going to be a hard task here. How will WUSA begin this one, though?
Exactly like Druid and Leprechaun's begun it. Tier 1 towards the right, alongside what's his name in his AMX 5100, but everything else in towards the city. And TCM, much of a different, much of the same tag, much a different. No. Still Mojo Thor is still in the classic position, trying to get a couple of shots off. Spots come out for them, so good information. But the two 5100s heading up towards the left side, or the right side, depends on your perspective, going to be trying to get the upper ground and maybe push along. So TCM like that kind of stuff. They like to get the higher ground and use it to their advantage. But WUSA will have the advantage of being able to shoot up without any cover to be hindered by.
It looks like WUSA are actually going to start backing away. They didn't fully commit towards the city. Thorus and still Mojo not really receiving much of a challenge. A couple of blind shots coming out from Thorus there. He could actually catch a couple on the cross if he did wait it out a little longer, but obviously a little bit of a dangerous spot to be in, as the same could be said back to him, but does back away just as they cross. But all in all, where are WUSA taking this rotation?
They're taking it around towards the green zone. That's where these 2 tanks actually come into favor. We saw last time TCM played this map, they also played up towards the right side, not with quite as many. Stefan gets caught there, 3-3-3, immediately reversing, but they kind of gone too far to go back.
Yeah, I'm not even sure who made that shot either.
That was just a blind shot because you could see the...
Must have been still Mojo.
Yeah, you can see that the truck was destroyed.
Yeah.
And then he just shot. The truck just dead, boom, and you do hit. It's one of those skills that came about very early on in this game because of the spotting system's rather unique. And it does pay off occasionally. You do it literally in artillery was more the common thing, but of course, as the game progressed in skill and went up in skill, the tanks with just normal sniper mode started doing it as well.
Well, at the moment, continuing the rotate round, we'll be seeing Eurofish up here with Yizny. So, at the moment, just waiting this one out. We'll have to see what WUSA can do as they do make their way through. But do you think they'll expect Yizny and Eurofish here? Because they have caught a glimpse of a couple of other tanks. Would this be a logical assumption, or is this something a bit unorthodox?
They definitely won't expect them there. They could just think, well, they're probably just thinking most of TCM are just sitting right at the back and not actually in that position. Delita's gone first, so he's going to spot out the Lux as he does get spotted. I'm not sure Yizny or Eurofish are going to take the base. If I was it, oh, he does. Yizny does find it, and that's going to put Siege and what's his name a slight advantage because they know they're there and they're going to be reversing, getting back out of there. And TCM, you can see already, don't know that those two are in that position. So Yizny on the reload.
Yeah, interesting of them to give away the game a little too early. Then I think they. I don't know why would they go for the tier 1 kill. Do you think it was just because they saw it there, quickly take it down and get the advantage, or was that? Part of the bigger picture, or just a bit, trigger happy?
They didn't want Delita to die there in the tier 1.
Okay.
That's basically what it was. They wanted Delita to die because if he died, then really they would be blind.
That makes sense, and fair enough. Fair enough. But Yizny's still reloading away, going to get back up to full shells in a second. Eurofish still with him. But nothing really coming ever since from that. Delita is still further ahead, as you can see. They're keeping eyes on the push. But it looks like the turrets are now turned for WUSA towards that direction, which could spell trouble if they come into the right spot, but it doesn't look like TCM are too worried. They still have a good bit of cover up here and actually not received a single flick of damage just yet.
Yeah, a couple of shells coming out from Rufy. Trying to hit onto Delita. WUSA obviously very well aware that Delita spotted, as there really wasn't any other tank in the position. So, really options for WUSA include pushing up the top with more tanks than TCM have there, but again, I was talking about the upper ground does put you at slight issue because you can get shot from the lower ground very easily when you don't have any cover. It's not mines where you have plenty of cover. On the upper ground you have really nothing apart from a few bushes and a couple of destructible objects here and there. And TCM just need to hang on for now. Again, they're a team about timing. On Himmelsdorf they timed it perfectly. They knew how long it would take to get from A to B, and they knew what time it would be when they got to B. And once they had that, they could push in the cap after a certain amount of time, and everything just kind of gelled together. I'm not sure if TCM has a strategy like that for Ensk, because WUSA do look like they're biting at the bit here to push forwards. Again, it would be hard for them to push across here, unless, like Drooling Leprechauns, they went very aggressive at the start. But Rufy is going to try and test the waters a little bit. Might get unlucky and get caught out, but no, he's gone forwards, and that is the weakness with TCM. They haven't got any tanks to spot.
No, definitely not. They've still got 3 further back. There we go. Finally, Delita's getting spotted, but he has caught a glimpse of 2. Imagine stay alive so far. Highly impressive stuff. Eurofish is waiting to get involved here. And somehow Delita's still standing in this situation. Very impressive. It might force a little bit more of the attention of the more central tanks to head over towards that green zone to reinforce it, or just maybe expect that push towards the cap. But Commandante does receive one from Eurofish, receives a second from Eurosish, and the third. Beautiful play coming out from him. Rufy gets one from Yizny. Finally a reply comes out towards Eurofish, but the damage has been done. That is great initial play.
Rufy tries to take down Delita. He's really a big thorn in their side. He does finally go down thanks to Stefan's brilliant shot there, but the amount of damage done by TCM is not critical, but it's certainly a big blow for WUSA, and they also have to try and reverse and get out of there, and if TCM push now, it would be game over.
Yeah, it certainly would. They're weighing up the options. Saurus is still further forward, but it looks like WUSA's not backing away. They're going to be... Are they really heading in towards this? Are they thinking they can avoid those 2 tanks in the corner? I'm not sure what Rufy and Stefan are doing, but they're certainly not backing out of this just yet.
No, Dazanichta, that's the interesting thing though. If WUSA do push, then Dazanichta could actually be out of position there. Quite far behind. Devil's got to join in the fun because he needs to go for the cap. So the split push will come from TCM, and TCM 5 versus 4 just need to hang on. The damage they did at the beginning will give them a decent amount of respite, but maybe not enough against the pure power and firepower of WUSA. But interesting stuff all round. As Rufy does head for Stefan there, but it would be a massive killing alley. Thoris, still Moja, 2 great IS3 players, and the MX51 at the beginning. Wolfie takes it first.
Well, still Mojo has to back out of this, but what's his name is down desperately low. He's going to be removed by Yizni. So first big kill coming in. Can they find any more though? Thoris is there looking towards Siege. Siege is out in the open, caught out, taken down. One more shell would take him through this game, surely. But now more attention comes in towards Stefano's Rufy as Eurofish did dispatch of Siege as Thoris now moving forward, using the reload available. Durs round the backside, tries to get in towards that cap. He's going to take down Terrastan and apply more pressure towards WUSA, who are split in attention. Finally get a kill back towards Still Mojo, but Thoris is in there. One round will do the job. He's down to 2 HP. But still, Rufy trying to come and save the day here, but Thoris waiting on that reload. And this is going to hurt. There we go. Thoris does the damage, puts Stefan out of his misery, and finally Durs might be challenged by something a little bigger than a tier 1. Commandante comes around to the backside, but Durs takes him down, takes him out, leaves Rufy the last man standing as Thoris finds it, and TCM find map number 2. Again, well timed, but was that just WUSA moving in at a disadvantageous position?
For sure. I mean, TCM, even with 4 tanks, managed to stop WUSA's advance and win that. They didn't even have the Zenichter in the game. I just want to have a quick look how much damage he did. 657, and Eurofish did 2.3k. That's the thing.
He made up for it.
They went first with the tanks up the top. Deleter did a great job in the tier 1. Just fantastic positioning from him, knowing when to push, knowing where to push, just being a thorn in WUSA's side. And WUSA went in 5 versus 4, still managed to lose it, and then they had to send a AMX 5200 back to try and stop the cap and stop the advance of Durs and Nichter. But still, they had no real reply, and TCM don't even look tested in that match.
Not really. You saw the standard setup, the 2-2 split coming out from the 5100s and IS3s, one at the cap and one obviously in the back west side. And to be fair, WUSA just kind of rolled into it like, well, I see the benefit of this situation and I'm just going to allow you to have it. You can kill us a lot. We don't have Durs here, but don't worry about him. He'll go and get the cap and maybe take some down eventually with 600
Some
damage.
tier 1s down.
Yeah, he's just having fun more than anything. But yeah, generally 2-0 up here for TCM. You said the real chance for WUSA would be on maps like Mines, more open, more dynamic maps. We will have Mines next. Finally a chance to maybe see them do something here.
And will TCM repeat what they've had all season? Those three draws they've had when twice they actually went up 2-0. And then they drawed 2-2. And once they were down 2-0 in the previous matchup against Dream Leprechauns, and they managed to bring it up to 2-2. Either way would be bad for them. As I said, like C-Play, they need to win this matchup to basically guarantee themselves a slot into the Season 4 finals. And C-Play's done that. They won their matchup. So TCM just needs to repeat that. They've got a little bit better of a standing there on 5th instead of C-Play 6th. But that's just switched around now, of course. But this could be the comeback from WUSA here. A little bit more dynamic. WUSA's just been not a particularly strong team on every map, but for sure Mines just give you a little bit of an ability. But TCM have also been very strong on Mines, so it's going to be a difficult game for them.
Certainly would be. And is there any tank choices you think that might make it easier, or is this going to be played out? Well, actually, I don't know what is normal anymore. We've seen WZ132s now becoming a bit of a staple tank in this for the opener towards the hill if they fancy it. We've seen 5100s coming into play, T30. We've had a really big selection on Mines. What's really the generic one we might see coming out, or is there extremes that these guys could go towards?
I think it depends what team you're playing. The great thing about Mines is because it is so dynamic and it changes so much, it really is about what the other team does. The only real mainstay on this map is probably the MX 3090s, T69 as well, but the WZ132, T32s, all those good things are very much an option for these teams. We saw in the previous matchup 3 of them coming out, and the one which brought more lost, so could be indicative of what these guys are do. Obviously, they've been watching the previous matchup, kind of seeing what's going on. But for TCM Gaming, it's 2 AMX 3090s, I believe. There's a Nichter usually picks that tank. WZ132, 2 T32s. They're starting from the south, and WUSA starting from the north. They haven't changed any of their tanks, so. Or
maybe they just think it's a city map now.
Well, yeah, I mean, to be honest, that lineup wouldn't be terrible.
It'd probably do the job.
The only problem is you just wouldn't be able to control any of the map. You would have to just sit in one location, and TCM would probably be able to exploit that.
WUSA just said they're ready.
No, fair enough. Trollolol. So Eurofish.
Oh, there we go.
Eurofish is picking the WZ132. Okay.
Right, that kind of confused me then.
To be fair, they can't actually stay ready and then change their tanks. But,
But, you know, WUSA.
Yeah, it's enough said, right?
I don't know what... I don't understand. My simple...
So they are going to pick something more reasonable.
well,
Triple
yeah.
IS3, MX3090, T69 double tier 1. But triple IS3...
I
Really?
accept double, or
Really?
maybe 1 or 2. I accept.
Yeah.
2 at a push.
2,
Pushing
1.
it. 1 more likely.
Yeah,
3.
2 too many.
Yeah. Not. Don't know. Not sure on these tank lineups. WUSA. Let's see what you've got in store, guys, because I think the team's ready. Let's get going into what could be the final map here. Mines. Alrighty, so welcome into battle number 3. We are sitting on 2-0 in favour to TCM, who will be starting in the south in red, and with that rather unique lineup in the north in blue, it will be WUSA. What are they doing so far?
Looks like she's going to go for that hill. Going to be a nasty surprise when Eurofish and does the Nikita do head over there, as of course TCM is going for the 100% with the MX3090 double WZ132. Now that's a tongue twister if you ever had one before. A little bit of damage comes away to TCM, none of it connecting though.
Yeah, somehow Eurofish and Derzenictor both avoiding those shells, getting straight up on the hill, and looking to maybe get a reply towards Seisha. Anyone who peeks around a little earlier on. Ooh, dangerous play, but Eurofish does land it. Stefan gets chipped away at, not by much. But those IS-3s, cumbersome, moving in slowly, but they'll get there eventually. But the damage coming towards what's-his-name is fairly substantial.
What's his name taking a 754, and it looks like TCM are going to be rolling over the YOLO from WUSA.
We'll see. We'll have to see how this one goes down. Still a lot of HP. No one falling just yet. They've got a reply. Still Mojo is now surrounded. He looks vulnerable here. DJ Deep does find Siege, however. And this may not go as simply as expected, as Still Mojo now just able to have free reign, and DJ Deep picks up a second. This is unbelievable. But still, Comandante, full HP. What's his name? Not too bad. Stefan's still in the game, but what's his name finally takes down Still Mojo. But can they find any more? Durs still sitting pretty, as is Eurofish. What's his name down to a one shot now, 110 on towards him. And this could go very wrong. DJ Deep does have reload, and he gets another into this game. Big plays coming out. And I've got to say it, TCM looking on the verge of victory here. Stefan and Comandante alive. Eurofish on the hunt. The WZ132's coming in speed. Just up off reload. Comandante needs one more shell. Eurofish will provide it, leaving Stefan alive against Yizny, Eurofish, Durs, and even Devil if he fancies it. And Stefan will be taken down by Eurofish. I want to see how many kills these guys have gotten here between DJ Deep and Durs there. But now the two tier 1s left standing. This game's been a bit of a whitewash. Yeah,
it was actually a decent push by WUSA, but it wasn't thought through, and it was kind of YOLO. And the only reason why they got so far is because of the amount of HP and firepower they have as a team. The Lux goes down, Terrastan goes down, the Lux remaining there in a tier 1, still sitting back in towards his base. Derzenictor is going to find him, dispatch him, 3-0 TCM.
Yeah, no messing around for TCM this playday. They are going full force and picking up the wins. Yeah, that game, interesting. DJ Deep hitting 3 kills there, Eurofish getting 2. Let's have a little look back, because that was over in a blink of an eye, and you can see literally the start of this. WUSA got up on that hill. No surprise, really. Sorry, excuse me, TCM got up on the hill with Eurofish there and those WZ132s. Got the initial shots off. But then WUSA just kept on pushing.
And they kept on pushing. They said, we have more firepower, we have more HP. Let's just push off the hill and see what happens. But TCM, although they weren't particularly aggressive as trying to stop this push, they still had the better positions. You can see how much damage WUSA's already taken. Like, but most of their tanks on half HP. Maybe some bad focus fire by TCM Gaming. Seek goes down first in the MX3090. Rulfi comes next, and DJ Deep and Yizny, that's such a good combination behind that rock. Yizny does eventually try and scamper out that situation. Still Mojo, I don't know how he lived for so long on such little HP, but he did somehow manage it.
He
Finally
was
goes down.
surrounded the entire time as well. There
it was like
3
4
tanks next to him.
Yeah, 4 tanks and then 3 a little bit later on. Unbelievable.
Dear Lord. But still, WUSA.
Still alive, still Mojo.
WUSA. We love those guys, but sometimes you just kind of want to slap them around the back of the head and say, "Come on, guys, let's play."
And it's
let's play
unfortunate
properly.
because actually I thought at the beginning of the season they would be a top team.
I thought they'd be one of the better teams.
I didn't
from the
think
new
ever
additions.
Freefall and Drooling Leprechauns would be that good. Just looking at previous results and the fact that WUSA was there with us at
Yeah.
the grand finals, they did get kicked out quite
early.
harsh by the American teams. For instance, Simp, I thought they would do okay. Unfortunate to see them actually maintain that 11th place position and looking like they're going to get automatically qualified. But the real storyline does go towards TCM Gaming, who seem to have now qualified for the Season 4 finals along with C-Play.
Pretty much get themselves there. And I want to point out C-Play as well, another newer addition to this league who've stepped up phenomenally in the last couple of play days, really securing their victories. But all in all, very quick final game then. TCM looking like they really wanted to get themselves towards those offline finals to get that position more secured than others, to say the very least, and not have to depend on other teams' results to gift them the chance to play towards those offline events. But all in all, bit of a quick play day. And Melly, did the people at home guess that right? I'm guessing they did.
You're absolutely right. The people at home voted with a clear 76% for TCM
Jesus.
Gaming. And if we have a look on the results of the voting, they actually didn't predict a 3-0 distance, more for 2-1. So,
Well, TCM do occasionally draw maps out. They do kind of let it slip every now and then. So I think that's a logical choice to go for. But I don't think anyone could predict the ridiculous play on mines with IS3s. So it could have been a 2-1, to be fair, if WUSA had played it out with maybe a more normal selection.
Yeah, perhaps.
it felt like they already gave up.
Yeah,
at some
I
point.
think
Yeah, they
mentally
gave
they were
up pretty
done.
much at the end. I think the only one they really tried on was Himmelsdorf, but still, that's still lackluster. Yeah, I think they gave up on towards that last map.
Okay, so do you think we'll see them back in the Gold League?
It doesn't look like they're going to do it for Season 5. Obviously, Season 6 is still an option if they do well in the Silver Series. But I don't think so. I think they're going to be
What
replaced
could
by
they
better
have
teams.
changed?
We've got, for
So
instance,
much.
GG Well Played sitting up in first place in the Silver Series. I don't see how anyone can challenge them. GG Well Played is surely going to be a top team
And
in Season 5.
Is that ex Denial you're talking about?
No, GG Well Played is ex Denova.
Oh, Denova. That's what
Yeah,
I meant. Sorry,
yeah.
excuse me. Yeah, those guys, well, consistently were in the top 3 when they were in this league. They backed away from it and, changed some bits around, but they're a team that were consistently phenomenal. That could challenge Virtus Pro occasionally, could challenge your Kasners and all those guys. So for me, I think let's look at the caliber of teams we've had joining us this season. So Freefall, the Drooling Leprechauns, C-Play, teams like this have come out and looked really quite impressive. Even Isuba to an extent have occasionally shown us some really good games, new tactics, new styles, picking up some surprising results, whereas WUSA, probably more one of the experienced teams coming into this league again. Didn't really impress. And Lucky Karaki, another team kind of coming back into it, stepped up against some big teams, kind of didn't have the best results overall, but they did pick up some early good victories there. So I think the caliber of teams is rising. The fresh blood coming in is getting better and better. And the old guard, if they don't catch up, the likes of WUSA who've been around for so long, if they don't put in the hard work and find that drive again, I don't think they'll really kind of cut it in the Gold Series again.
GG Well Played will just annihilate them
Oh,
for
God,
sure. I think the old guard is definitely on its way out. I mean, Na'Vi losing 3 matches in the Russian server. The only ones who really seem to be there is Virtus Pro, and maybe just because they're not being challenged. But, WUSA may be the only weak link along with the Suba in the Gold Series left.
Yep.
And those two are probably going to be on their way out. I
I
guarantee
think
it
it's a
almost.
safer bet, yeah.
And they're going to be replaced by 2 top teams. So in Season 5, we could have 100% a stack lineup.
Yeah, it's going to be insane coming into that. I God only knows what we're going to get results-wise. Considering we've now seen C-Play up into near-on qualifying positions towards the offline finals, we're seeing, Freefall challenging some big teams. The Leprechauns doing the same thing. There's been so many standout moments during the season where individual players are outdoing some of the very best of our last seasons who are just new additions to this. So a lot to be kept our eyes on. I think WUSA needs to kind of reevaluate a lot of stuff and look back and go, okay, how can we catch back up? How can we do this again?
The first thing teams that doesn't do so well try is a new lineup. Do lineup changes help at this point, or do the teams only have to improve their synergy, their tactics, their team play?
I think WUSA's got good players, as does Suba. I just think for WUSA it's more of a chaotic game style. There seems to be no communication, there seems to be no real drive and real push and straightforward linear thinking in their tactics. I think at Suba it's more I don't know. They do seem to lack that panache, that player,
Yeah.
which can actually drive them and get them good results.
I think you need to know what you're in for. Let's say, well, we look at the example of Elian with Denial. It's the easiest example to go to for me. He wanted to play more seriously. He wanted to play with a more dedicated team. He left the lineup. He joined theirs. They made some other switches here and there. And he took Kazna, who I'd say were a lesser side than Denial, back when they were both playing with the
sure.
same lineups, and took it into a higher caliber. I think some teams occasionally need to be within, the right group of players. So let's say you're a very talented team, but you don't have the drive, then those talented players shouldn't be in that team. They should make a move. They should go somewhere that's more dedicated. That may take a couple of seasons to get into the Gold Series, but you'll be there with a team who wants to constantly work and constantly improve. Whereas if you want a more relaxed, fun atmosphere, you've got to find the right team for it. And if some of these teams aren't finding those right lineups, I think that's where you get some of the disparity in these teams, where it's like, okay, well, they've got 3 players who are insanely good, but the others just don't seem to have that synergy or the timing's off. I think they need to evaluate what's going wrong and kind of look internally at it. But lineup changes aren't always the right answer, but sometimes it has to be done. I
think more often than not they are. I mean, you say they're not always the right answer, but lineup changes can involve bringing in a coach, for instance, and having a backup player there as someone just to be, giving the team some structure.
No, I agree on like backup and management and people looking over at coaches or keeping that sort of position. I think is almost essential. But I look at other games and other top teams, the ones who stick together the longest, who work through the issues, who come back, who do the hard work. You also have to have the right players initially to be able to do that. Let's bear in mind, if you're not dedicated at the start, you're not going to be any better later. I think keeping a lineup of maybe not the best players in the world, but the most dedicated ones will be absolutely fine and work through the issues. Like, if Denial kept Elian, let's say, and then they, worked on their own, worked on all those small issues that they had, I think they'd have been a great team. But they didn't. They've kind of fallen down, and they probably do need lineup changes, or they do need to find that dedication. But I think it's just down to the team and the players. If you've got dedicated people, then improve, work hard. If you don't, then it's lineup changes.
Yeah,
100%.
I agree.
I think that's pretty much as simple as it can be done.
Yeah, and we hear in many other competitive titles that teams boot camp a lot.
Yeah.
And I haven't heard of WT teams really boot camping. I mean, there are some few. Do you think that could help teams building up that synergy which is needed on the server, or do you think a boot camp in World of Tanks isn't necessary?
I think any competitive esports or any competitive thing in the world, if you're in a team, it always helps. You get to see the person next to you, take it a lot more seriously. You get to work as a complete team, and I think it wouldn't hurt. I know a couple of these teams going to the grand finals did boot camp. Some teams are luckier than others, so they're from a very close region. So, for example, Arate, one of the Korean teams who always beat their opponents in Korea, lived fairly close, and every now and then they'd meet up, go into the PC Bangs out there, which is like a big PC LAN thing, and just play for maybe an hour or two every couple of weeks, and just constantly talk it through, and you get better synergy, you become closer friends, and some organizations will be able to support them and be able to do that and help them maybe travel costs, because let's be serious here, it doesn't necessarily mean that all these players are from the same place. If they're like an all German team, they could live absolutely everywhere, and it's it's not always time friendly to do it, but I think it'd certainly help. I don't think it's a bad thing. And I know some of them do go for the boot camps before offline events. I imagine Navi very easily supported by their organization, giving them these sort of opportunities. Same with the Virtus Pros, same with probably TCM, and a couple of the others in known organizations will probably have the opportunity, I feel.
Yeah, for sure. It gives them a lot of helping hands when they need to buckle down. I don't think in the high pressure situations. I think in the high pressure situation makes a big difference. A low pressure situation probably doesn't.
No,
so it's there's a lot of differences these kind of things can make, and of course as World of Tanks continue to progress, I think it's going to become more of a commonplace.
Yeah, I think towards the offline finals, I think we might see a couple of these teams trying to get themselves together, start building that synergy as best as possible, because at the end of the day, you spend hours with these people, but you just don't see their ugly mugs half the time. And then when you're all together, it all becomes a little bit more serious. You start going, okay, well, let's work through this together. Let's sit down and watch, some of the replays back. Go, okay, well, what went wrong in this demo? Oh, I was out of position here. And you can start really discussing the internal problems and actually find a resolution a lot better. But unless you're going into an offline final or an offline event, there's not really a necessity, I feel. I think it could improve them, but I think they need that reason to do it these days. And I think coming in towards the offline finals now, we're not too far away. I think it could certainly help them out. If the teams feel it could be a little bit of a boost to them.
I think so as well, since, I don't know, it helps getting to know the way of thinking of people.
Yeah.
Being
for sure.
close to them, spending I don't know, just watching them how they do their lunch. It's stupid, but it is just like that. That's how you learn people and their way of thinking. So that was my question. My questions. Thank you for answering them.
It's all good. It's nice to have a discussion, to be fair, about it. Obviously, it's different opinions, and we all come from different games, varying games in our backgrounds, so we all kind of have this very different experience towards what can improve teams and what can actually develop them as a whole. Like you're purely a World of Tanks player pretty much competitively when it comes down to score what enemy territory in Call of Duty. You were Counter-Strike mostly, and a couple of other games in there as well, but every single different kind of community has their different ways of preparing. I think in a game like World of Tanks that's so dependent on that teamwork, the mental kind of game towards it really does help for these guys to sit down and go through all these options together. But anyway, it's all back to today's Playday. Theories aside and our analogies aside and all of that good stuff, let's have a little look towards the rankings at the end of this Playday. Still at the very top, it's pretty much what you'd expect. However, EPS do take over Kazna. And all in all, what are we seeing here? Who's looking okay towards those offline finals?
Yeah, this is the only change you mentioned was this switcheroo between Kazna and EPS. Kind of following a little bit, actually. You have to see if they can get up to the second place in the next match day. So same top 6 teams, and those 6 are pretty much going towards the offline finals now, 100% going towards the offline finals. So Virtus Pro, Schoolbus, Evil Panda Squad, Cancro, TCM Gaming, C-Play will be joining us. And a really, really good set of teams, I have to say. I can't really think of anyone that's better. I would like to see Denial play a little bit better, down in 10th place. Apart from that, I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah, the thing is, there's teams that we'd argue would be better on paper there, but I think everyone's deserving. I'd have liked to see Denial there. Obviously, we've seen them at so many offline finals these days. They're pretty much like part of the kind of furniture. But they didn't play well enough this season. I think they'll admit that. We had the qualifying games for the Battlefield tournament not too long ago. I think a couple of days ago. And one of the teams who are favourites who've been in every single offline final just didn't qualify. And even they said every team who qualified deserved it. We didn't work hard enough. We had holidays, we took time out. Hopefully see you next season. And I think that's something that's hopefully going to be true here, that Denial look as this not going, oh, it's lucky we're not there. I think they need to go, okay, actually, we didn't work hard enough. We didn't make the right choices. Let's work harder towards that next season, because they are certainly a talented side. But yeah, you are completely spot on with that. I think everyone deserving. But I'm trying to think, could Lucky Cracky overtake C-Play in any way, shape or form? I don't think they
3
can.
points,
It's too late now, isn't
14.
it? They can only be 1 point behind. So so you pretty much have them locked in. I think you're absolutely spot on there. But we still have a couple of play days to play out just for our amusement and to see kind of pretty much the final standings, not only towards the qualification. Obviously, if you get a better spot in that top tier of teams, you get a better qualifying position in the playoffs, and going forward, you get the kind of better ranking way of it works. And then obviously at the bottom, it's all about not being immediately relegated and also battling your way back in with a chance to get into the Gold Series next season along. So coming up on the 28th of July, which will be next Monday, do make sure you check it out, obviously, because we'll have Freefall up against WUSA, the first game of the day, C-Play up against Lucky Karaki. Lucky Karaki just missing out by that 1 point pretty much, unable now to get towards those offline finals, but they'll be seeing the team who's just pipped them to the post, so a bit of a grudge match I can imagine there. And they certainly do want to keep as hot on the heels of the team above them as possible, because it keeps them out of that very dangerous bottom section to get immediately taken out of this. And then following that, Isuba up against the Leprechauns. So pretty good games all in all, I think, coming up into the next couple of play days. I think it's more about who can kind of get away from that bottom two, I think is the bigger question here. And who do you think's the team's most in trouble down there?
Well, the WUSA and Isuba are definitely most in trouble. Denial will definitely not want to drop into those bottom two. And of course, the higher you're up between 7 and 10, the better positioning and seeding you get against the Silver League teams. No one wants to play, for instance, GG Well Played, because they're going to stomp you.
Like the plague.
Exactly. And for me, actually, next week, the best matchup is Schoolbus Virtus Pro, at the moment, number 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Could possibly be the final matchup in the finals as well.
It certainly could be, and obviously that's on Thursday the 31st of July. That's Schoolbus and Virtus Pro, then Kazna, Denial, EPS and TCM. It's a little bit of a old school throwback to the last seasons. We're seeing all the old teams kind of battling it out there, obviously in varying forms, but it's the grudge match as well. Kazna against Denial, Elian the turncoat, turning his back on them and leaving them to fall to the bottom. So certainly a big couple of grudge matches coming down in the next couple of play days. Do make sure you follow on Twitter and Facebook. Obviously, follow those URLs with WGL EU so you can keep up to date with all the content and every time we go live. Also, make sure you follow here on Twitch, just down below that follow button. And every time we go live, you'll be notified by an email, and you can just look on Twitch TV. It's not that difficult. But if you don't like any of that, just tune in on the 28th of July at around 7 CEST, and we'll be here. Hopefully, you guys will be as well.